The conference hall buzzed with an electric tension that Jake Harrison knew all too well. He'd spent the last 3 years developing a technology that most of his colleagues considered impossible, adaptive nanites capable of spontaneous reconfiguration based on environmental challenges. His presentation wasn't just a scientific demonstration, it was a declaration of human potential. The room was packed with international delegates, venture capitalists, and a handful of independent observers whose crisp, seemingly tailored suits stood out among the more casual scientific crowd. What none of them knew was the hidden delegation of Zorn alien observers tucked away in a specially designed observation booth, translucent enough to watch, but reflective enough to prevent direct scanning. Zarakel, the lead Zorn observer, adjusted her bioadaptive interface, her multi-segmented fingers dancing across a holographic display. To human eyes, she would have appeared as a complex metallic sculpture, crystalline structures shifting beneath a translucent exoskeleton that reflected light in impossible geometric patterns. Her species had watched countless emerging civilizations, and most followed a predictable trajectory of technological development. But something about Jake Harrison was different. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake began, his voice carrying a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. "What we're looking at isn't just a technological breakthrough. It's a fundamental reimagining of how adaptive systems can respond to complex environmental challenges." The first demonstration started simply. A small cluster of nanites sat in a containment field, looking like nothing more than a silvery dust. Jake introduced a series of increasingly complex obstacles: temperature variations, electromagnetic disruptions, physical compression. With each challenge, the nanite cluster didn't just resist, it transformed. When subjected to extreme cold, the nanites clustered together, creating a heat-conserving structure. Under electromagnetic interference, they reorganized into a self-shielding configuration. Physical compression resulted in an ingenious redistribution of molecular stress that prevented total structural failure. Zarakel's bioadaptive interface began registering anomalies. The computational models her civilization used to predict technological development were generating multiple error messages. This wasn't just incremental improvement. This was something fundamentally different. "The key," Jake continued, his hands moving with the practiced choreography of a seasoned presenter, "is not in creating a perfect solution, but in developing a system that can continuously learn and adapt. Traditional nanite research focuses on predefined outcomes. We're creating a system that defines its own outcomes based on real-time environmental feedback." A young researcher in the front row, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, leaned forward. She recognized something in Jake's approach that went beyond mere technological innovation. It was a philosophical statement about problem-solving itself. What the humans in the room didn't see was the quiet alarm spreading through the Zorn observation team. Their civilization had spent millennia carefully managing technological development across the galaxy, ensuring that no species could rapidly disrupt the established technological hierarchy. Jake Harrison's presentation suggested that humanity might be about to change everything. Zarakel made a subtle gesture, and her secondary observation drone began a deep scan analysis of Jake's presentation materials, standard procedure for an emerging species that showed unexpected potential. But something in the nanite demonstration suggested this wouldn't be a standard case. As Jake's presentation concluded with a demonstration where the nanites reconstructed a complex mechanical device from its broken components, the conference hall erupted in applause. Most saw a remarkable scientific achievement. The Zorn saw the potential beginning of a significant galactic disruption. "Any questions?" Jake asked, a slight smile playing at the corner of his mouth. He knew he'd just changed everything. What none of them realized was that this moment was the first tremor of a technological earthquake that would reshape galactic civilization. The Grand Diplomatic Chamber of the Galactic Confederation was a marvel of alien architectural engineering. A massive spherical room that seemed to defy gravity, with holographic interfaces that shifted and breathed like living organisms. Rachel Thompson stood at the center, a solitary human representative surrounded by representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. The Zorn delegation occupied the most prominent position, a raised platform of crystalline material that seemed to absorb and refract light in impossible ways. Ambassador Krelnax, the senior Zorn diplomat, looked down at Rachel with a mixture of condescension and barely masked curiosity. His species had managed galactic technological development for over 30,000 years, carefully controlling the advancement of emerging civilizations. The human delegation will now present its response to the standardized technological integration protocol, Krelnax announced, his translators rendering his complex linguistic patterns into crisp, emotionless English. Rachel knew this was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a test. The Zorn believed they were presenting humanity with a carefully crafted technological roadmap. What they actually offered was a sophisticated method of technological suppression. The holographic display behind her came to life, not with the standard diplomatic presentation, but with a dynamic visualization of Jake Harrison's nanite research. Binary streams of data danced alongside molecular reconstructions, creating a visual symphony of innovation. Distinguished representatives, Rachel began, her voice calm and measured. The document you've presented suggests a linear path of technological development. But humanity doesn't follow linear paths. We innovate through chaos, through unexpected connections. She zoomed in on a specific section of the nanite demonstration, showing how the molecular structures could reconfigure themselves in real time. The alien representatives leaned forward, their various sensory apparatuses tracking the presentation with growing unease. Krelnax's translator clicked with what might have been annoyance. The protocol is designed to ensure stable technological progression. Unchecked innovation leads to civilizational collapse. Rachel allowed herself a slight smile. Interesting, because from our perspective, unchecked stagnation is the real threat to civilization. The chamber fell silent. Rachel knew she was walking a diplomatic tightrope. The Zorn expected a submissive response, a grateful acceptance of their guidance. Instead, she was about to deliver a calculated challenge. "Let me illustrate," she continued, bringing up a comparative analysis. On one side, a timeline of Zorn technological development, a nearly flat line of incremental improvements spanning thousands of years. On the other, an explosive graph representing human technological advancement over mere decades. In the past 50 years, humanity has developed more transformative technologies than most species develop in 5 centuries, Rachel said. Our strength isn't in perfection. It's in our ability to learn from failure, to see obstacles as opportunities. The holographic display began showing rapid sequences, medical breakthroughs, environmental solutions, technological innovations that had emerged from what other civilizations would consider dead ends. Each image was a testament to human adaptability. Krelnax's translators began to emit a low, almost subsonic vibration, the alien equivalent of a frustrated growl. Unpredictability is not a virtue in technological development. It is a significant risk. Rachel's response was immediate. Risk is the currency of innovation. Every breakthrough in human history came from someone willing to challenge the accepted wisdom. She zoomed in on Jake Harrison's nanite research, showing how the technology could potentially revolutionize everything from medical treatments to environmental restoration. The display became a living demonstration of potential, each molecular reconstruction showing how human technology could adapt in ways the Zorn couldn't comprehend. The other alien delegates began to murmur. Some looked intrigued. Others appeared deeply uncomfortable. "We're not asking for permission," Rachel said, her final statement cutting through the chamber like a knife. "We're informing you that humanity will continue to innovate, with or without your approval." The diplomatic chamber hung in a moment of charged silence. Rachel Thompson had just served notice. Humanity would not be contained, controlled, or limited by anyone's expectations. Outside the chamber, in the vast complex of the Galactic Confederation, something fundamental had just changed. The carefully maintained technological hierarchy, was about to experience its first genuine challenge in millennia. The Zorn's computational challenge arrived exactly 72 hours after the diplomatic meeting. A massive encrypted data matrix that would have taken most civilizations decades to even begin decoding. It was meant to be a humiliation, a demonstration of technological superiority that would put humanity in its place. They didn't anticipate the human response. Jake Harrison's lab at the International Quantum Research Center became a crucible of unexpected collaboration. The team assembled was anything but a traditional research group. Dr. Marcus Lee, a quantum physicist with 3 doctorates, worked alongside Olivia Rodriguez, a 28-year-old street-taught programming prodigy from East Los Angeles. Next to them sat Dr. Ahmed Khan, a theoretical mathematician, and Alina Yoshida, a neural network specialist who had previously worked in video game design. "This isn't just a computational problem," Jake announced, spreading the encrypted matrix across multiple holographic displays. "This is a puzzle designed to demonstrate impossibility." Olivia Rodriguez leaned forward, her fingers already dancing across a modified neural interface. She'd grown up solving complex problems with limited resources, a skill that translated perfectly to quantum computing. Impossible is just a word for solutions we haven't found yet. The challenge was elegant in its complexity. A 12-dimensional encryption matrix that seemed to change its fundamental properties the moment any traditional decryption method was applied. The Zorn had designed it as a perfect trap, a problem that would consume human computational resources for generations. What they didn't understand was how humans approached seemingly unsolvable problems. "We're not going to solve this linearly," Dr. Lee observed, his quantum model spinning complex probability webs across the displays. "We need to approach this like a living system." Jake's nanite technology became the key. Instead of treating the computational challenge as a static problem, they began to design an adaptive decryption system that could learn and reconfigure itself in real time. The neural interfaces allowed human intuition to guide the process, something no alien computational system could replicate. Hours turned into days. The research team worked in shifting configurations, taking breaks, switching perspectives. A retired chess grandmaster was brought in to provide strategic insights. A group of indigenous programmers from Brazil contributed breakthrough pattern recognition techniques. A teenage mathematics prodigy from Kenya provided an unexpected algorithmic approach that became a critical breakthrough. On the 5th day, something extraordinary happened. The computational matrix didn't just begin to decrypt, it started to transform. The nanite-driven decryption system began revealing layers of information that weren't just mathematical solutions, but comprehensive technological insights. "It's not just solving the problem," Alina Yoshida said, her eyes wide with realization. "It's learning from the problem." The Zorn's computational challenge was more than a test. It was a carefully constructed information trap, designed to reveal the computational limits of emerging civilizations. But humanity's approach, collaborative, adaptive, drawing from diverse perspectives, turned the trap inside out. When the final decryption completed, it wasn't just a solution. It was a comprehensive quantum communication protocol that made the Zorn's existing communication networks look like primitive radio transmissions. Jake watched the final sequences resolve, a mix of scientific excitement and something deeper. A fundamental understanding that human potential wasn't about individual brilliance, but collective imagination. The research team erupted in celebration. Olivia high-fived Dr. Lee. Ahmed and Alina hugged. But Jake noticed something more significant. They had done more than solve a computational challenge. They had just demonstrated a fundamentally different approach to problem-solving. In the observation stations of the Galactic Confederation, alien researchers watched in growing alarm. The computational solution wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of technological development. And they were just getting started. The first wave of the Galactic Confederation's punitive expedition arrived with the cold precision of a millennia-old military machine. 12 massive battlecruisers, each the size of a small moon, dropped out of quantum translation space at the outer edges of the Sol system. Their weapon signatures were designed to overwhelm any emerging civilization's defenses, a show of force meant to demonstrate the futility of resistance. General Marcus Rodriguez stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, a converted underground facility beneath the Andes Mountains. His team was nothing like a traditional military command. Tactical analysts worked alongside video game designers, neural network specialists, and quantum computing experts. The defense strategy wasn't about matching alien technology. It was about fundamentally reimagining warfare. "They're coming in a standard hierarchical convergence formation," announced Captain Sarah Chen, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. Textbook Zorn attack pattern, meant to create overlapping defensive fields. Marcus allowed himself a slight smile. Textbooks are about to become obsolete. Jake Harrison's nanite technology had transformed every piece of human defensive infrastructure. Spacecraft were no longer static machines but living, adaptive systems. Weapon platforms could reconfigure themselves faster than enemy targeting systems could lock on. Defensive shields weren't just barriers. They were active, learning entities. The first alien energy weapons struck what appeared to be a standard defensive grid. But instead of a static shield, they hit a surface that absorbed, analyzed, and immediately began developing a counter-frequency. Each weapon strike provided more data, more opportunity for adaptation. The Zorn battlecruiser's commanders watched in growing confusion. Their targeting systems showed multiple points of engagement, but the human defenses seemed to be dancing. "They're not blocking," Captain Chen remarked. "They're learning." A young lieutenant named David Rodriguez, no relation to the general, had developed the adaptive defense protocols. Drawing from his background in competitive fighting games and neural network design, he created a defense system that treated each incoming attack as a learning opportunity. The alien weapon signatures began to lose effectiveness. Where a single energy blast would have previously decimated a human defensive position, now it was analyzed, understood, and neutralized within microseconds. General Rodriguez opened a communication channel, not to attack, but to observe. "Attention Galactic Confederation fleet," his message began. "We're not interested in destruction. We're interested in demonstrating a fundamental truth about technological engagement." The Zorn flagship's communication array lit up with what could only be described as technological confusion. Their weapon systems were being systematically decoded, their attack patterns anticipated and neutralized before they could be fully implemented. Jake Harrison's nanite technology had transformed human military infrastructure into something entirely new. Spacecraft could now reconfigure their molecular structures in milliseconds. A fighter craft hit by an energy weapon might lose a wing, only to have that wing instantly restructure into a defensive or offensive appendage. "They're treating warfare like a solved problem," Marcus muttered. "We're treating it like a continuous learning experience." The battle wasn't a traditional engagement. It was a live demonstration of human adaptive capabilities. Each alien attack provided more data, more opportunity for the human defense systems to learn and evolve. Halfway through the engagement, something unprecedented happened. The human defensive systems began to not just defend, but to actively deconstruct the alien technological approach. Weapon signatures were captured, analyzed, and then used to create counter-technologies in real time. The Zorn fleet found itself fighting an enemy that didn't just resist, an enemy that was fundamentally reimagining the rules of engagement with each passing moment. As the first Zorn battlecruiser began to show signs of systemic failure, General Rodriguez turned to his team. "This isn't about winning a battle," he said. "This is about showing them that innovation is our greatest weapon." The message was clear. Humanity would not be contained. Humanity would not be controlled. Humanity would adapt. The collaboration between Jake Harrison and Area Washington began in the most unexpected of circumstances. A late-night conference call that was supposed to be a routine technical review and turned into something far more revolutionary. Area's workspace was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, quantum computing interfaces, and what appeared to be an impossible number of coffee mugs. Her background in network theory wasn't just academic. She'd spent years studying how complex systems broke down, reformed, and evolved. "It's not about destroying systems," Arya explained, her fingers tracing complex network patterns across multiple displays. "It's about exposing their inherent vulnerabilities." Jake leaned in, the nanite research algorithms spinning complex visualizations around them. "You're talking about a systemic solvent, something that doesn't just attack a network, but reveals its fundamental structural weaknesses." The Chaos Protocol was more than a piece of technology. It was a philosophical approach to understanding institutional complexity, where traditional network analysis looked at systems as static entities. Arya and Jake were developing something alive, a digital organism that could navigate, understand, and ultimately transform complex networks. Their first test target was surprisingly close to home: the internal communication systems of the Galactic Confederation, a network so complex and old that most civilizations considered it immutable. "Every system has blind spots," Arya muttered, her neural interface pulsing with data streams, especially systems that believe they're perfect. The initial infiltration was almost anticlimactic. The Chaos Protocol didn't break into the network so much as it understood it. Like water finding its way through the smallest cracks, it began mapping connections, identifying bottlenecks, revealing hidden dependencies that even the Zorn hadn't recognized. What made the protocol truly revolutionary was its adaptive learning capability. It didn't just collect information. It interpreted, analyzed, and began suggesting potential systemic improvements. More importantly, it could communicate these insights in ways that would inspire change, not just expose weaknesses. "Look at this," Jake said, pointing to a visualization that looked more like a living organism than a network diagram. Interconnected nodes pulsed with potential, showing not just current system structures but potential future configurations. The Galactic Confederation's communication network had existed for millennia, a testament to technological stability. But stability, Jake and Arya were discovering, was just another word for stagnation. Their protocol began generating reports that were simultaneously analytical and inspirational. It didn't just show systemic problems, it suggested collaborative solutions. Trapped communication pathways were revealed. Bureaucratic bottlenecks were exposed. Entire subsystems that had become functionally obsolete were brought into sharp relief. "We're not destroying anything," Arya emphasized during one of their strategy sessions. "We're creating the conditions for transformation." The breakthrough came when they realized the Chaos Protocol could do something unprecedented. It could translate complex systemic information into narratives that different species could understand. A communication network for the marginalized, the suppressed, the civilizations that had been technologically controlled for generations. What the Zorn didn't understand was that information wasn't just data. It was potential. By the time the first comprehensive Chaos Protocol analysis was complete, it had done more than map a network. It had created a blueprint for systemic liberation. Arya watched the final sequences resolve, a complex smile playing across her features. "We're not just changing a network," she said to Jake. "We're giving every trapped civilization a language of possibility." The Galactic Confederation's observation networks would later describe the moment as the beginning of the most significant technological disruption in galactic history. But for Jake and Arya, it was something more personal, a demonstration that true innovation wasn't about technology. It was about imagination, and humanity was just getting started. The Chaos Protocol spread like a living idea, more infectious than any technological virus, more transformative than any weapon. It wasn't just a network infiltration, it was a fundamental reimagining of institutional possibility. On the crystalline world of Vornak, the first signs of transformation began in the most unexpected place, a research facility that had remained unchanged for 7 centuries. The junior researchers, members of the Kelran species, long considered a subordinate technological class, began to see their work differently. Dr. Lyra, A Kelleran researcher who had spent decades following predetermined research paths found herself staring at a holographic display that seemed to breathe with possibility. The Chaos Protocol hadn't just revealed inefficiencies in their research structure, it had provided alternative pathways, collaborative approaches that had been unthinkable just months before. "We've been waiting," she whispered to her research partner, without even knowing we were waiting. The protocol worked by doing something revolutionary. It translated potential into narrative. Where traditional technological transfer was a top-down process, this was a horizontal explosion of possibility. Each infiltrated system didn't just reveal weaknesses, it told a story of what could be. On the mining colonies of the ZEP Collective, robotic systems that had followed the same extraction patterns for generations suddenly began to optimize themselves, not through a centralized command, but through a distributed network of adaptive learning. Workers who had been considered simple operational units started suggesting improvements that increased efficiency by 300%. Jake Harrison and Area Washington watched from Earth as their creation began to ripple across galactic civilization. It wasn't about destruction, it was about liberation. "We're not giving them technology," Jake explained during a classified briefing. "We're giving them permission to imagine." The Galactic Confederation's control mechanisms had always relied on a simple principle: limit imagination, control development. The Chaos Protocol did the opposite. It didn't just break barriers, it showed every subjugated civilization the tools to create their own path. On the diplomatic channels, the response was predictable: panic, confusion, a desperate attempt to contain something fundamentally uncontainable. Ambassador Rachel Thompson found herself in the unenviable position of explaining the unexplainable. "It's not a weapon," she told the Zorn Diplomatic Council. "It's a conversation." The most profound impact wasn't technological. It was psychological. Civilizations that had been told for millennia that they were limited suddenly saw themselves as potential innovators. The Chaos Protocol wasn't just revealing systemic inefficiencies, it was providing a universal language of possibility. Area had built something more powerful than a technological tool. She created a mimetic catalyst, an idea that could spread faster than any physical technology. During one of their strategy sessions, Jake realized the true nature of their creation. "We're not just changing systems," he said. "We're changing how civilizations think about change itself." The Zorn observation networks tracked the spread with growing alarm. This wasn't a technological invasion. This was a philosophical revolution. On a small agricultural world in the Confederation's outer rim, a group of farmers used the protocol's insights to redesign their entire agricultural system. What had been a struggling colony became a model of sustainable development in less than a solar cycle, not through advanced technology, but through a reimagining of possibility. Humanity's greatest export, Area told Jake, isn't technology, it's hope. The Chaos Protocol continued its quiet revolution. Each infiltrated system became a node of potential. Each revealed inefficiency and opportunity for transformation. It didn't force change, it made change irresistible. As the galactic communication networks began to pulse with new possibilities, one thing became clear: the universe would never be the same again. Humanity had done more than challenge the existing order. They had shown every civilization that the most powerful technology is imagination itself. The Galactic Confederation's final assault was nothing short of apocalyptic. 147 battlecruisers emerged from quantum translation space, their weapon signatures designed to obliterate entire planetary systems. This was more than a military operation. It was intended to be a complete demonstration of technological supremacy. General Marcus Rodriguez watched the incoming fleet from the Earth Defense Command Center, a network of quantum-entangled command stations spread across multiple planetary bodies. Traditional military strategy was dead. What they were about to engage in was something entirely new. "Incoming fleet composition," announced Captain Sarah Chen, shows a classic Zorn hierarchical convergence strategy. Concentrated firepower, layered defensive matrices, sequential attack waves. Marcus allowed himself a thin smile. they're still fighting the last war. The human fleet wasn't a collection of ships. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of adaptive technology. Each vessel was a node in a massive, dynamically reconfiguring network. Jake Harrison's nanite technology had transformed spacecraft from rigid machines into fluid, thinking entities that could communicate, adapt, and evolve faster than any traditional targeting system could track. The first wave of Zorn energy weapons struck what appeared to be standard defensive positions. But these weren't defenses, they were active learning systems. Each weapon strike was analyzed, understood, and neutralized in microseconds. The human defensive grid didn't just resist. It learned, adapted, and transformed. "They're treating this like a mathematical problem," Marcus said, watching the tactical displays. "We're treating it like a living conversation." The most revolutionary aspect of human military strategy was its fundamental approach to conflict. Where the Zorn saw warfare as a series of predetermined strategies, humans saw it as a continuous process of adaptation and innovation. Spacecraft began to do things that defied traditional military logic. A destroyer hit by a primary energy weapon would instantly reconfigure its molecular structure, transforming damaged sections into defensive or offensive capabilities. What would have been a fatal blow became an opportunity for transformation. Area Washington's Chaos Protocol played a crucial role. The communication networks weren't just tracking the battle, they were actively participating. Each engagement provided instantaneous data, allowing for real-time strategic adaptation that made the Zorn's millennia-old tactical algorithms look like primitive children's games. "We're not just fighting," Marcus announced to his command team. "We're having a conversation with possibility." The Zorn fleet found itself facing an enemy that didn't follow any recognizable pattern of engagement. Human ships moved like living organisms, switching between defensive and offensive configurations faster than the alien targeting systems could comprehend. A ship losing its port side would instantly redistribute its molecular structure, transforming damage into tactical advantage. By the battle's midpoint, the Zorn commanders realized they were facing something beyond technological superiority. They were facing a fundamentally different approach to conflict itself. Jake Harrison's nanite technology had turned human spacecraft into something more than machines. They were adaptive, learning entities that could reconfigure themselves at the molecular level. A weapon strike that would have destroyed a traditional spacecraft became an opportunity for transformation. "They're treating warfare like a solved problem," Marcus muttered. "We're treating it like a continuous learning experience." The final stages of the battle defied all traditional military understanding. Human ships began to actively communicate with each other, creating dynamic, fluid attack patterns that shifted and evolved with each passing moment. What appeared to be chaos was actually a highly sophisticated, distributed intelligence system. As the Zorn fleet began to show signs of systemic failure, it became clear that this was more than a military engagement. This was a philosophical demonstration of how humanity approached challenges, not as something to be conquered, but as an opportunity to learn and grow. The universe watched as humanity rewrote the rules of engagement. The aftermath of the confrontation was nothing like anyone had anticipated. Most civilizations expected humanity to claim victory through domination. Instead, they offered something far more radical: transformation. In the grand diplomatic chambers of the Galactic Confederation, Rachel Thompson stood not as a conqueror, but as an architect of possibility. Behind her stood a diverse coalition, representatives from species that had been technologically suppressed for millennia, now awakened by the Chaos Protocol's revolutionary insights. "We're not here to replace your systems," Rachel announced, her voice carrying a calm certainty that commanded attention. "We're here to help you reimagine them." Jake Harrison and Area Washington had transformed the Chaos Protocol into an open-source platform of technological and cultural exchange. It wasn't a weapon of destruction, but a tool of collaborative innovation. Each participating civilization could contribute, learn, and grow. The Zorn delegation, once the most powerful administrative force in the galaxy, found themselves in an unprecedented position. Their millennia-long strategy of technological control had been systematically dismantled, not through violence, but through a profound demonstration of collaborative potential. Ambassador Krulnax, the senior Zorn diplomat who had once looked down on humanity, now struggled to comprehend the new reality. The hierarchical systems that had defined galactic civilization for thousands of years were being fundamentally restructured. On dozens of worlds, the impact was immediate and transformative. Suppressed research projects suddenly found funding and support. Technological barriers that had existed for generations began to crumble. Species that had been considered lesser were now active contributors to a new dynamic galactic ecosystem. The Earth Defense Force, under General Marcus Rodriguez's leadership, was reimagined. Instead of a military organization, it became a collaborative research and support network. Their advanced adaptive technologies were shared, not as a show of force, but as an invitation to collective growth. Innovation isn't about superiority, Marcus explained during a comprehensive galactic broadcast. It's about understanding that every civilization has something unique to contribute. The Chaos Protocol became more than a technological platform. It was a philosophical framework that demonstrated a fundamental truth. Progress isn't about control, but about creating conditions for collective potential. Elena Rodriguez, the quantum engineer whose early work had sparked this transformation, found herself at the center of a new type of scientific diplomacy. Her research teams now included scientists from species that had never before been allowed to collaborate at this level. "We're not solving problems," she told her diverse research team. "We're creating conversations." What the Zorn and other controlling civilizations had never understood was humanity's core strength, the ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. The Chaos Protocol wasn't just a technological tool, it was a method of cultural translation, allowing different civilizations to communicate in ways that transcended traditional barriers. Area Washington's most profound contribution wasn't the technical design of the protocol, but its philosophical underpinning. It wasn't about giving civilizations technology, it was about giving them permission to imagine. The galactic communication networks, once rigid and controlled, now pulsed with an unprecedented energy of possibility. Research stations that had been static for centuries suddenly became hubs of collaborative innovation. Mining colonies reimagined their relationship with planetary ecosystems. Agricultural worlds developed sustainable technologies that transformed their entire relationship with their environments. As the formal restructuring of the Galactic Confederation concluded, it became clear that this wasn't a human victory. It was a universal transformation. Jake Harrison, looking out over the diplomatic chamber, understood the true nature of their achievement. "We didn't conquer," he said quietly to Rachel. "We showed them how to be free." The universe had learned a fundamental lesson. True advancement isn't about technological superiority. It's about creating the conditions for collective imagination. Humanity's greatest export was never technology. It was hope.